So in this video, we're going to go over what the Octave Library is, provide a quick tour of the different elements within the library, and also some best practices on creating these elements and then refining them as well. You can think of the library as the home for the shared definitions around what you sell, who you sell to, what they care about, and why you win. And you can think about it as a central place to capture and evolve those different messaging assets that you can then deploy into strategic campaigns. The value around this is that it creates alignment among the team, it avoids people operating in different silos and having messaging stray amongst different team members, and it enables collaboration on building these assets out. So let's take a look at the library to see what this looks like in practice. So here's a library we built out for HubSpot because they're a well-known company. But as you can see, you'll have your product, which are the core products and services that your company offers. Personas, which are the detailed characteristics of specific buyer and user types that you serve and want to message to in a meaningfully distinct way. Then you have use cases, which show how you deliver value. Reference customers, which are real customers who have seen benefits using your products. Segments, which are distinct groups of customers that share needs, motivations, and attributes. So it can be different verticals or different sizes of companies or companies in the same stage. Lots of different ways to think about segments and how you might cut up your market into different segments. Competitors are pretty self-explanatory, but these are elements that can show how you compete and how you stand out against your competitors and maybe where they shine versus your product as well. And then proof points are generalized facts that highlight your company's expertise. In terms of best practices around building out your library, we'll go into a little more depth with deep dive videos for each of these different sections. But for now, the best practices around building out your library are going to be highly context dependent around your company and what you sell. But for some general rule of thumbs, you'd say that building out a different product is only necessary if it's a meaningfully distinct offering that has a different buyer group and different use cases. In terms of personas, you can create as many that are necessary. We challenge you to think about how would I break up my market into distinct groups that I would want to message to in a meaningfully distinct way. You don't have to enumerate every title. Sometimes it might be title dependent, but other times you might think of a broader group that you want to message to in a meaningfully distinct way. No rule of thumb around use cases. Generally, as many that your customers acknowledge and that your product contains. As far as reference customers go, the more the better generally. I think the minimum amount you would want is a reference customer for each group of the market that you'd want to message to in a meaningfully distinct way. As far as segments go, again, the best way to think about it is how niche can I get when I think about how I want to go to market and what characteristics different buyers share. So there's no rule of thumb on how many segments to create versus not create. It's more about how sharp can you be in terms of segmenting up your market. But don't create segments just for the sake of it. Really try to be targeted and discreet about why I'm creating a segment and why this is a group of customers that share unique values. Competitors, I think it's pretty obvious. Load in your main competitors if you want to message on a competitive basis. And then proof points, similar to reference customers, the more the better, as long as they're targeted and they are distinct and they show the value of your product. In terms of best practices around refining your library, you'll definitely want to take the time to set up this library and make sure that everything in it really reflects how you want to talk about your company and how you think about breaking that down. You can go into each element, hit refine, chat with this refine agent, and it will make updates to the different elements. We generally recommend that teams collaborate and spend some time up front making sure that all of these different elements reflect what they want to be talked about. That being said, the library should generally be a more static area of the Octave experience. Your playbooks and your agents are going to be your more experimental layer to test how this messaging goes out into the market. Over time, as you learn which messages are resonating, or as you add new use cases, or as your product evolves, you'll definitely want to come back and make refinements to your library, which will then flow down through all of the other different elements within Octave. That being said, if you invest time upfront to make sure the initial version of the library is good, that will only help, because then you can build off of a solid base and come back over time as you have real learnings in the market. That's all for now about the library. Hopefully you have a good understanding of the core foundational layer that powers Octave and powers your go-to-market messaging system.